ideas and content. Oh my God.
Did you mess it up already?
I did, yeah. The ideas and content in this podcast are our own and do not reflect the views or opinions of any current or previous employers. Got it.
Good enough.
Good enough. Yes.
How's your week been? You been crazy busy or what?
My week has been nuts. I was off last week. I had, a great time off.
I forgot you were off.
Yes, I was just hanging out with my wife and hunting, and we ended up doing, over the weekend, we did some family stuff. We went down to a soccer tournament in Richmond.
Gross.
That was 2 days of freezing cold watching youth soccer. So that was a little rough, but it was good matches, and it was really cool. But I got back and was just getting started in my week, and I'm like, man, I got a great game plan. I feel refreshed. And
Awesome.
Then a guy in my office casually says, yeah, man, job's looking pretty good, man. I think we'll be all right when the our new COO comes through. And I'm like, say what now? Come again? And he's like, yeah, he's going to be here on Wednesday. And
Yeah.
I'm like, started freaking out.
Hope you're
I'm like,
ready.
oh God, and so, so then there goes 2 days of my
dude.
life and jammed with meetings and, 300 unread emails. So that's how my week was. And I'm caught up and I feel pretty good.
So, Jason, we have Phil Ogilby on the line with us today, and he is a CEO. So, Phil, I hope that story that Jason just told gives you some pause when you pop in on your employees.
There you go.
Because they, I'm sure they get nervous, because, I met him as well. And it's nerve-wracking when the boss is coming to town.
Yeah, especially the unknown. This is a person I'm meeting for my first time. He was so cool and really excited about what we were doing. So, nerves up until you get to that point, and then you realize, hey, this is just a guy, and he gets what you're doing. And he just wants to see it.
That's awesome.
It was good.
I'm glad it was a good experience. And you killed a deer, so good for you.
I did kill a deer. Yeah, that's right. So I got a little meat for the freezer.
So we're going to talk about, today on the podcast, we're going to talk about, we're always talking about tools for construction management, and that extends to, that's not just for, guys building production homes or doing commercial work. It's for general contractors. It's for our trades. It's for the whole industry, right? So today we're lucky. We've got Phil Ogilby on the line with us today to talk about his program, Stack, his software program. Primarily it's estimating, but I'll let him get into it. Phil, again, we talked a little bit yesterday, and I'm super grateful that you're able to come on the show and talk to us today, because through our conversation yesterday, I got the impression that you kind of share our desire or our vision to improve the industry as a whole and really elevate the status of construction, not just, trade workers, but entrepreneurs and really the entire industry.
No, that's right. Yeah, 100%. For sure. I was a contractor years ago. I started my career. I literally started as a sheet metal worker in 1978, and gives you an idea how old I am. But the economy sort of tanked in the early 80s, and I got laid off, and I found myself with a mortgage and a wife and a growing family and an unemployment check. And that just wasn't going to get it. So I literally, I guess today you'd call me a serial entrepreneur for sure, but at the time, I wasn't sure what to do. So what I did is I went out and bought a book on how to put a roof on your house. And then I went and bought an ad in the Yellow Pages, which is what you did. Yellow Pages used to be the Google that you would have today, right? So that's how you found business. And I literally started into the residential roofing business. And within a few years, I made my way into the commercial business, and that's how I really learned, how commercial construction works. But long way of telling, I started in the building trades, and it's a really, really tough way to make a living, and it's tough to really succeed. And that's it's developed into a passion for me, and that's what we focus on with our technology solutions today is, trying to help people succeed. I mean, in a very, very difficult and challenging, even today, as busy as it is, you'd think everybody be swimming in money, but the environment's constantly, hyper competitive. And so, you got to do the right things. You got to use the right tools. That's what you got to do.
It's funny you say that, because there is an impression that, you hear somebody, oh, they own their own company. Immediately you assume, oh, they must have lots of money. But that is not the case. Yeah. I know that most of the trade contractors that Jason and I deal with, I mean, they're working on a razor edge profit margin, because they got to be competitive, just like you said. So
no, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I
And
know,
you got things like retainage to deal with, and all sort of things that come along that you don't expect, and it's a high risk business, and it's really tough to succeed.
it really is. And if and I'll tell you what will kill you. What I see is if the contractors come out and they have to come back to fix something or redo something, that's when they're working for zero. That makes it really tough. Or a spec changes and they don't know it. Everybody's documenting everything, and if that spec changes and you don't catch it and you go out there and you put your work in, and now you have to go back, not just redo your work, but actually change the product or whatever you put in there. I mean, you're done. You're sunk.
Yeah, not to mention that you're.
Yeah,
I was just
I'll
saying,
share with you a stat because this is something that I do, and I've done a fair amount of research, especially in the last year or so on this. But a lot of people, we don't talk about it in the industry, but here's some really hard, cold facts that people don't often appreciate. If you start a brand new construction company today, regardless of the type of construction, let's say in probably the greatest economic climate for construction, and certainly in my lifetime, right? That is today. You start a brand new construction company today, there's 25% of you will be out of business within the first year. 25% do not survive the first year. Furthermore, after 5 years, right? If you had 100 people start new construction companies, 5 years later, 34 of them are still going to be in business.
wow.
It's
awful.
absolutely the highest risk in all of the industries that the government tracks. And a lot of people aren't aware of that, and we don't talk enough about it.
Wait,
But
construction?
Anyway,
construction companies is the highest risk for going out of business?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For going out of business. Yep, that's correct.
So
Yeah,
why do
that's
you
absolutely right.
why do you
can
suppose
look
that
it up,
is?
but it's true. I think there's a lot of reasons. We were just talking about a few of them, right? And I think a lot of it too is people like me. So you don't necessarily go get an advanced business degree and start into construction. Most of us got into it because our fathers did it, or it's what we learned to do right out of high school, and you get pretty good at it, and then you decide you want to do it on your own. And so it's not a breeding ground. The problem that leads to then is your sort of your barrier to entry, we call it, right? The difficulty to start the business is really low. And so when you've got a big industry like this, where the barrier to entry is low, then you get a lot of people flooding into it. And in times like this, when the economy's good, there's lots of work, you get lots of people just starting up from scratch, and that continually compresses the margins, right?
Yeah.
Because you're competing constantly with the new guy on the block, and it just makes it really, really tough to build much margin into your work. So it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, just the way the market works. You really got to know what you're doing and figure it out and pay attention to the details to succeed in the industry. You really do. So
since we're talking about small business, you just testified in front of Congress, which I think is super cool. Because I've been watching the I don't know if you know this, but there are some other testimony going on these days.
Really? Yeah, I know. I heard about that when I was up there. Yeah, I know.
So, but what was that? What was that like?
Crazy.
What's that like, going and sitting in front of Congress and I mean, we say testifying.
Explain to us what you were doing there.
Yeah.
Like, how did it go?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a good question. So it's really cool, actually, the way it all happened. So we got a call. Lindsay Peterson runs marketing for us, and so Lindsay got a call or an email, I think, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago from this lady in Steve Shabbat's office. Steve Shabbat is our local congressman here in this district in Southwest Ohio and Cincinnati area. And so she asked a bunch of questions and then ultimately came back with a request for us for me to testify, or if I was interested, right? So it really came in as a request from them, if you'd be interested in testifying. It was a small business committee in the House of Representatives, and they did an entire hearing that's literally structured as a hearing on technology and construction and the impact of technology. And so they invited myself. There was an architect there. There was a third-generation contractor out of New York, and there was a guy from Trimble was there. They make road grading equipment and all kinds of GPS stuff. But anyway, and then I was the fourth member invited to testify, and so it was really cool. And You know, it was. I'm pretty comfortable in front of people and speaking in general, but I got to admit I was a little nervous. It's sort of a very structured, you know, formal process, and they put a little timer right in front of you. You only get 5 minutes to speak initially, and so
did they cut
it was
you
quite
off?
a process. But
Did they
I
tell
really
you your
enjoyed
time
it.
had run
Actually,
out?
they did not.
Okay.
They said they would, but they didn't. It was good. It was good.
So it sounds like,
But it was quite an experience. I'm really fortunate to get to do it.
so out of the 4 people that were testifying, it sounds like you were the only one there that's actually got a software company. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. You know, Trimble is mostly hardware, but they have some software solutions. But yeah, that's right. And you know, my background is that Stack is my second startup. So prior to this, in 1999, I had started a company called I Square Foot, which is now known as Construct Connect, and you know, they sell construction news. That was my last startup. I started that in 1999, and so, you know, for a local congressman, and obviously he did some research on me, but if you include that, I mean, that Construct Connect now employs more than 1,000 people, you know, around the country selling construction news. And now we've got Stack. And so, you know, if you stick around long enough, you get to be kind of important in the market. And I guess that's where I find myself today.
I'm still waiting.
So, yeah, but it was cool. I was very blessed.
So let's back that up then. So, because I want to get to Stack, because I think it's a great tool for general contractors and tradespeople alike. But I know you've been in business since '84 in the software business. So how did that happen? So how do you go from I'm doing commercial roofing to I'm doing software? Because that seems like an odd leap.
Yeah, no, it was for sure. And so this was, you got to fast forward a little bit. So this would have been 95, 94 or something like that. And my oldest son, Justin, was one of those computer genius kind of kids. And so I came home one day, he had built a game using Visual Basic and was kind of shooting at each other on this computer screen. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. And I said, look, why don't we buy you some more books and we'll buy you some more software and let's build an estimating program for my roofing business. And he was all about it. And so he's literally been my partner since he was 14. He's still a partner in the business. By the time he was 17, we'd sold about $500,000 worth of our BuildWare Pro estimating software. And that's when I made the jump out of the building trades and into the technology side of the business. And that was really my first technology startup prior to I Square Foot.
So at what point did you realize that you had something when you're using this program, at what point are you like, we can sell this?
Or was that the point from the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing. So BuildWare allowed you to measure blueprints on your computer screen with your mouse. And today that seems like just another thing, but 20 years ago it was really revolutionary, right? So everybody was shipping rolls of paper. It also allowed you to work with a digitizer back in those days. So we would sell this big digitizer and people would put a blueprint down on this big rubber mat that was plugged into their computer, and then they take a stylus pen and measure. And when I started using it for my own business, it blew me away. I mean, I went from a startup doing, $150,000 worth of roofing a year to doing $2.5 million in like 24 months. I mean, wow. Your ability to bid so much more work in less time and with a higher level of accuracy really spikes. And if you think about what you're doing with takeoff and estimating, you're impacting the top line of your business. So revenue is the thing that can ultimately save you. And what I learned quickly is it's important to bid a lot of work and continue to bid a lot of work, really to get over the rough spots along the way. So that had a big impact on my business, and I started showing it to some of my buddies in the business, and they were like, let me write you a check, and that's how it happened.
So originally the idea was like, hey, son, can you help me speed up the process on my own gig? And did it spin into like, man, this is so good, we've got to bottle this up and sell it? Or was it like, hey, I need you to develop a software for a second business?
No, that was it. I mean, we continued to improve it. And one of the things we did with BuildWare that we've now done with Stack is we built estimating and takeoff together. So not only can I go measure a wall or a roof or a floor or a parking lot or whatever it is, but I can link items to it, and I can even link multiple items in the form of an assembly. And so, We make it super easy to do, and now you can measure, let's say you measure a parking lot, and we'll tell you how much asphalt, how much gravel, how much labor, all that stuff. Same way with the roof and whatever it else. If you're measuring the walls, we'll give you sheets of drywall and number of screws and, studs and the whole deal. And it all comes as part of the measurement. So when you tie all that together, I used to, when I was doing takeoffs by hand, I'd get a job and then I'd go do another takeoff to come up with my bill of materials. And with this process and this software, we sort of tied it all together and made it one simple process. And I was much more confident in my bids, right? Because I knew I had the materials right out of the gate, and I could be more competitive, and everything about it was a big winner for me. And so I knew quickly that we were going to make a market for the software.
So for Stack, does the program include like industry standards for like nailing patterns, for studs in a wall? So Jason and I just did a podcast on estimating, and I threw a bunch of information on our website, Builder Tactics, in the blog about how to measure the number of studs in a wall. And it was, as I was going through I don't want to say the research, but as I was putting together how to explain that.
Basic formula.
Well, it's kind of convoluted, right? Because if you have a window, you have to add. If there's a door, you have to add. How does Stack help you kind of get that? Do you have to input the specs, or do you have like a library that you can pull from?
Yeah, so we build it with a library. So for all the major trades, whether it's concrete, masonry, drywall, metal studs, wood framing, roofing, whatever, there's a library. So there's a catalog of items and assemblies. We don't have pricing, so we don't go into pricing. You'll plug in your own pricing into the database and get it, and then the whole thing ultimately spits into Excel where you finish it. But we have formulas already built, and then drop down lists or variables, right? So anytime there's a variable and you want to enter a coverage rate or a spacing or anything like that, you just enter it as part of the process of attaching the assembly to the takeoff, and and it just works.
That's awesome.
It's really pretty slick, yeah.
So I know
and again, we have a big impact on people's businesses. It's amazing, and I love to hear those stories because I know how, like you heard me say, I know how hard it is. So.
Dude, it's so hard. I ran my own general contracting company, and I told you the other day, I did every single estimate with a pencil and the scale and paper plans. And sometimes I was right and sometimes I was wrong. But when I was wrong, boy, I was wrong. And it was expensive. So,
what's amazing, and you guys are in, you talk about technology all the time, but the fact of the matter is, you go to trade shows and you pick up magazines, and, what gets coverage is BIM, right? BIM, 3D, and look how amazing that model is. We deal with smaller contractors. Those are our customers, right? So if you're a small to medium, we have thousands of customers now, but most of them are small to medium size. And you know what they're doing? They're doing exactly what you described, right? People think, construction's automated and all this tech. No, they're most likely printing that PDF to a piece of paper and putting a scale on it. I mean, that's about 50 to 60% of the market is still in 2019 doing takeoffs that way.
So let me rewind just a smidge. What is BIM? I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, okay, all right, sorry about that. BIM is building information modeling. So anytime you see, and you guys have seen in the trade mags or whatever, and you go to a trade show and you walk around and you'll see demos of this stuff, but it's like a 3-dimensional takeoff where you get a model, an architect builds a model, and the owner can sort of virtually walk through the building and all that stuff.
I gotcha.
For years, they've been saying, this is going to be the future and you won't have to do takeoffs anymore because the model will just spit out the quantities. And the fact of the matter is that's not anywhere near reality in the world we all live in today for most people.
No, I will tell you that Jason and I have actually had the opportunity to do virtual walkthroughs of products that haven't been built yet. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I think they're pretty good, but
I mean, they give you a feel.
Yeah, feel.
It's
right?
not like you can put on a headset, walking around virtually 3-dimensional. I mean, it's funny because we're expected to, like our upper management, the people helping with the architecture, are supposed to go through and pick out the things that they don't like during the virtual process so that we don't have to do that later. And then you get in real life and it's like, oh, wait a minute, these windows are too high, or the ceiling, the bulkhead hangs down too far and it cuts off your line of sight. It's like, oh, you couldn't tell that. It's the same thing with, because we used some BIM systems for a couple of different things. I know I was getting strip drawings for townhouses where you could blow it up and check your offsets and check your step downs and spin it around and look at the backyard and make sure that, come up with all the things but you can only do so much with it. Is that the same kind of thing? Like as far as takeoffs, I mean, you can explode it or zoom in and look at all the materials, but you can't really get an accurate takeoff from it.
Well, the fact of the matter is that it's a little more complicated of a conversation, but fundamentally the model is what they call it, right? So whereas an architect will draw a blueprint, in the 3D world of BIM, they're designing what they call a model, and so often that model it's designed to show the surface of a wall and a door and you can show, people as you're walk in this door and look around, look what the room looks like. But it's not built. The model isn't built to contain the level of detail about the material.
I gotcha.
That just doesn't exist.
That makes sense.
And candidly, most of the time the models aren't even built, right? So most of us don't even have the opportunity to even look at a model on a project. But you're getting more and more of them. But fundamentally, again, the vast majority of the market is still doing takeoffs by hand from a two-dimensional drawing, and those folks are our customers today.
Well, not only that, I mean, I got to imagine, the cost to put together a model like that has got to be astronomical. And most companies are not doing that. So, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I checked out your program a little bit, and I know there was it's collaborative, right? So you can tie your whole team.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah. So it's interesting. We built it as a takeoff solution. We built estimating into it. You heard me describe that, and now we now built keyword searching into it. So when you upload a set of drawings, we automatically keyword search the entire set of drawings as well as any specs. And so we've really evolved into more of a platform. So we have companies that use us for takeoff and estimating, obviously, but we also have companies, because you can have as many users as you want in the application from your company. We have used, and you can access it remotely, obviously, from anywhere. It could be on your phone or your tablet or anywhere you happen to be. And so it's really evolved into being sort of a virtual plan room for companies that use it. And then they also use it for takeoff and estimating, but they also use it as sort of their own virtual plan room for their business in many cases.
So how is that? So, because I see a bunch of guys, as I go from job site to job site, I talk to framers and everybody else, and the use of a tablet on the job site is becoming so popular. Like guys that I would think probably could barely operate their phone are pulling tablets out on the job site, and they're whipping through plans and they're exploding, details, and they're showing me stuff. And I'm like,
yeah,
I feel like I blinked, and we went from paper plans to everybody's got a tablet on the job site. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
The ones you're shocked about the most are the ones that go exclusively by a nickname, aren't you?
I'm telling you, man. Sometimes I'm like, I don't think this dude can read, and he pulls out a tablet and starts explaining to me about details and stuff, and I'm like, holy smokes, this guy knows more than I do. So, and I
got it right there.
I'm pretty smart. So
self-proclaimed.
It's pretty cool. So where do you see? I know Stack must be growing. When did you start Stack? When did that program? What do you do with program? Do you release it? Do you drop it?
Yeah, so we released it initially in January of 2015.
Okay.
And like I said, we have thousands and thousands of users now using it, paying to use it. You can also use it for free. So we have sort of a freemium model. You can use a limited version of Stack for free, and we'd encourage everybody to sign up for a free account and play around with it and see if you don't see the value that I'm describing. But we have an extraordinarily high renewal rate, which I know well because I've been in this industry a long time, and that's unusual in construction. And so, people see a huge value with Stack, but it's new, and we're still pouring a lot of money in it. Candidly, we'll put $3 million or so into our development budget this year. It's pretty much, we have a big team of developers, and they're all focused on making this thing better and better.
Well, if you say you have a high, so it's funny because we were talking earlier about the fact that most small businesses go out of business in construction and in general. But the fact that you have a high renewal rate means that tells me right off the bat that this has got to be a powerful tool, because that means those companies are staying in business.
Coming back for more.
They're coming back for more. They're seeing the value in the program, and they're so what is it, like a 1-year subscription?
Yeah, it's a 1-year subscription. Yep, and it'll range anywhere from just about $1,000 to like $1,800, depending on what level of license you get. And then we have sort of team licensing, where if you want to bring the rest of your team in, and you can do that really inexpensively. But yeah, we had a testimonial today where a guy, literally, I loved it. We did it. We do an all hands meeting. We have like 55 employees now at Stack, and I lead an all hands meeting once a month. And I talked about this testimonial we got this morning from a guy who said his productivity on estimating and takeoffs has increased by 1,000%.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
It's
so we
funny.
get those kind of things, and I just love, I just love it, because that's why we're in business, to do that kind of stuff. And I guarantee you, we're having a big impact on that guy's business,
Sure. So I just came from a meeting a little bit ago, where there was, it was a trade council. It's a collaboration meeting. And we had some folks from production, folks from purchasing, and a number of trade partners. And this was a huge topic that we were discussing. We were saying, we've talked about different specs. We're going to use a different exterior trim. We need to know and the trade partners are saying, when I bid a job, if all of those questions aren't answered, then this and that, and now I'm rebidding, and it takes time, and they are all still looking through plans, printed 11 by 17 or full size plans, and literally going through and marking it down. So there's such a huge market for this. I could see builders and trade partners and all types of supply companies wanting to use this.
Yeah, it's a big deal. That's the other thing we're starting to see now. We've done a couple of big deals with manufacturers and suppliers that want to engage with these contractors, because obviously they know the people that use Stack are buying material. These are the guys that actually buy the building materials, and so we're starting to. That's how Stack is evolving to be more of a platform, because we're getting suppliers and manufacturers now wanting to participate and help us figure out with them how they can connect directly to people that are maybe interested in buying their product and getting pricing directly on projects and stuff. So
that's fantastic.
We got a lot of really exciting stuff we're working on.
That's
we're excited about it.
As I'll tell you, a lot of times, if you're a contractor, and this happened to me when years ago when I was running my own company, somebody would ask me to use a product. I had absolutely no idea. I'd never used it before. I'm like, oh my God, now I have to spend however many hours researching this project or this product to find out how to install it, anything special I have to do, how do I cut it, how do I do this, how do I do that. If those suppliers are already integrated into my estimating program, that's awesome, because I've got all the information right there.
Yeah, and these guys are recognizing that too. We've had a couple that specifically come to us because they want us to build those assemblies so that their customers can just grab them and measure and have the bill of materials. So it's exciting. We're enjoying a lot where we are in the process. So
that is awesome. So Phil, let's do this, because I want to bring you back on some future podcasts to talk about small business in general, but specifically our trade partners. Ways that they can maximize their time, because I can tell you there were times when I would bid jobs and it got so complicated that I would just say, you know what, forget it, and I would just push it to the side and say, I'll just move on, I'll look for something else. And anything that we can do to help our trade partners be more successful and just elevate the industry is something that Jason and I are super passionate about. It sounds like you share our passion for that, and the fact that you were a roofer is awesome, because that tells me that you get it. You get what it's like to be out there.
You, like us, have probably been burned a bunch of times, and that's why you're good at this.
Definitely.
That's right.
Definitely.
That's right.
So I know the website is stackct.com, and anybody that's listening that wants to check it out, they can get on there. They can download a free copy, essentially, right, or get a free subscription. What do they get with that?
Yeah, and it's cool because you're not downloading anything. It's absolutely modern. It was built for the web, so you're going to access it through a browser. And by the way, Mac users are everywhere these days, and we're one of the only solutions that works great on a Mac. So
that's good.
It doesn't matter if you're on a Mac or a PC. You're just going to fire up a browser, even on your phone, and you can log in and create your account. So and upload some drawings. I encourage you to do that right away.
Awesome. And what this is kind of off topic. Well, it's not really off topic, but it might be a little more techy. But what's the file format to load plans?
PDFs mostly. Most everything's in a PDF anymore.
Okay,
so,
great. Okay. The reason I ask, because I bought a fixer-upper, and I had to do a ton of estimating. I have to completely remodel this house. And when I jumped on and created an account with Stacked, I was like, I got to figure out a way to get these plans loaded into this.
Yeah.
Because the thought of sitting down again with a pencil and a ruler, trying to do all the estimating for this fixer-upper I bought is just driving me crazy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you should do it. Yeah, and you can do that for free with our free version, I'm sure.
It's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
Free to do that.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna report back on it.
Good.
So just to make sure people get that, it's stackct.com, stackconstructiontechnologies.com. It's a super easy.
That's right.
I've been on the website multiple times. There's tons of information on there. Super easy to download the I guess not an app, but to create an account and start using the program.
Yep.
And there's technical support.
Right.
I know that your guys will reach out to anybody that creates an account to answer questions for them.
Yeah.
And to get them going, started off on the right foot, so to speak, which is awesome.
That's right. Yeah. There's never any cost for training and support, so that's a big bonus.
That's fantastic.
Phil, thank you. Definitely thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. We hope to talk to you again. So that was a pretty awesome phone call.
That was a pretty awesome phone call.
Yeah, I think that I definitely want to hear back from Phil. I think that what he's doing pertains to what all of the guys and women who listen to this podcast do for a living. All of us have something to do with trying to figure out what it takes to go into the bid or the job or the product or whatever you're building.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Well, it is huge. And he is helping these companies stay in business and stay profitable.
Right.
Which I'm telling you, man, it's dog eat dog out there, man. It's tough.
Right.
And
we were saying, if you can do it from a PDF, if you can take a PDF set of plans and plug it in and figure out how many studs and how much wire and how many nails goes into it, it's going to be huge.
It's huge. I can't tell you how many times people have sent me files with some weird tag to it. And I'm like, what is it? I can't even open it. My computer just spits it back out at me. It's like, stop it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, that's fantastic. And the library that's built in is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gonna be a game changer for a lot of companies.
Yes, sir.
And the fact that they've got thousands of subscribers is a testimonial to how easy this program is to use. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
All right, let's talk about our stuff. So Builder Tactics. It's the greatest website ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
You've told me over and over.
So if you jump on there now, there is a link for shop. So you can actually buy T-shirts, sweatshirts. We've got some awesome designs. You can make a mug if you want.
I assume they're going to fly right off the shelves.
I assume they are right now. As we speak.
Yeah, probably being sold right this second.
They'll probably break the server, quite frankly, if that's a thing. I'm not sure what a server is. Anyway, but yeah, if you go to the website, buildertactics.com, go to shop, you can get T-shirts. We have a bunch of different designs on there. One's got a Buddha on it. One looks like a whiskey label, which is actually pretty popular. Yeah. I floated that out there to some people, and they're like, love it. And I was like, what about the Buddha? And they're like, what's this got to do with construction?
That's exactly what my wife said.
Man, come on.
I like the label one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, so go check those out. Manual's still out there. We're almost to our limit for reviewing resumes. So that's offer is still on the table if you download the manual. I actually had a construction manager say to me, he goes, man, that manual's pretty good. There's good stuff in there. And I was like, yeah, dude.
I've been trying to tell you. Somebody told me today that I work with.
What?
She said, what's it called again?
What?
Because I've been bragging about our, how much fun it is and how many downloads we have. And she's like, what's it called again? I'm like, damn it, you've never even listened.
Oh, my God.
Just subscribe and then delete. I'm okay with that, too.
Yeah. God, it drives me crazy. Anyway, so buildertactics.com, check it out, register. Manual's on there. You can buy some stuff. Check out statct.com. Awesome program if you're looking for something for estimating, team collaborating. Team collaborating?
I don't think that's right.
It sounds good. Check them out. I subscribed. I'm going to use it to renovate my house, so I don't have to estimate with a pen and a paper.
Done it.
And that's it. That's all we got today.
Thank you.
Thank you.